The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw, Review.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Wrestling to the Max Raw review for February 12th, 2018. And Paul, I am ready for an interesting show to talk about because, lots of things are taking place. We're getting ready for that Elimination Chamber. And did we get, an opportunity to get further in these stories? I'm excited to say I think we are. If they didn't stall out too much here, I think we got a lot of progression tonight. So I'm excited about talking about this one, man.
Lots of news dropped on this episode, too, so we'll talk about some of that here as well.
Yeah, so big stuff coming your way for this episode of the Raw Review. But hey, before we get into all that, I got to let everybody know, Wrestling to the Max, of course, is brought to you by the W2Mnet.com. That's right. That's the place where you'll get all your great wrestling needs and a lot more. So don't forget to go over there, check out the site, make sure you get involved in everything that we do over there, plus a lot of other friends and people that do amazing other podcasts in the world of wrestling and all the other categories that W2Mnet.com has to bring you from that W2M network. And make sure you subscribe to the W2M network. That way you can get every single of those shows that I'm talking about here, if I could talk, and also get it's like stutter all of a sudden. That's crazy, but that's because I get so excited about the W2M network. We're always bringing new content to you. We're always getting things out there for you guys, so make sure you go check everything we have to offer out there for you guys. Plus, don't forget, give our friends over there at the 411mania.com and lastwordonprowrestling.com. They need some of the support because, trust me, they are amazing. They're awesome, and they don't really need us, but hey, they are great. They're super awesome, and we share in all the support. They give us credit. We give them a little credit. They are super awesome. So go check them out as well. We love them, and we appreciate everything they do for us. And, hopefully we give them a lot of props and showcase what they have to offer because they showcase us so much. So, but yeah, of course, once again, I am Gary Vaughan, and along with me is Paul Leazar, your host. And Paul, let's get this thing off the ground, man.
Yeah, let's get this train rolling. So we open Raw with John Cena coming out, and he is here to talk about the importance of the Elimination Chamber and really the importance of WrestleMania and making moments and how this is sort of, he thinks this is the Elimination Chamber and winning that is basically his last shot at getting another WrestleMania moment, another moment in time that he can say, look back on fondly and be like, me and Brock, we did this, right? So, he's trying, God, how do I want to say this? Basically, he puts Lesnar over, calls him unbeatable, and, says that he likes long odds like this. This is where he sort of thrives and even has made his name. So, all this talk about making history, of course, brings out The Miz, who's got his usual compatriots with him, and says, Cena, 2018, this is going to be the year of The Miz. I've said this all along. I'm going to main event WrestleMania. I'm going to beat Brock Lesnar. I've beaten you at WrestleMania before. I know what it takes in these big atmosphere matches just as much as you do, and all this other stuff. This eventually leads to Cena challenging The Miz to a match tonight, and he wants the loser to be the first one in the Elimination Chamber. Miz refuses and says he's not stupid, which leads to him and the Miztourage attacking him. Kurt Angle comes out to try to restore some order. However, he likes the idea of the match, ends up throwing Axel and Dallas out of ringside. Cena and Miz about to go one-on-one here. So before we get into the match, what are your thoughts on this opening promo?
I think the opening promo was fine. You get the normal stuff with John Cena, right? Yep. This is leading up to WrestleMania. You could probably go back to last year at this time. You're going to get some of the same things, right? I'm just working hard to get to WrestleMania. I've got to find my route. And it makes sense. They've got to do this. It's also a great way to kind of start the show off by, getting a lot of WrestleMania talk started. that's the way they did it. I don't have a problem with it. Bringing the Miz down, I never really have a problem with that either. I think the Miz brings so much. So, I mean, I got to give him credit for that. And I love the reference to the old WrestleMania match that those two had. That was also really cool. Really enjoyed, the fact that they're bringing that up. So to know that you're going to get a match between John Cena and The Miz, it doesn't upset me at all. And especially when it starts the show, I think the setup was really good. I don't think it was anything to blow you away, but I thought it was quality. Sometimes John Cena does go on a little long for me because it's the same old shtick, but I think The Miz kind of helps counterbalance that.
I think you nailed this on the head. This is very basic John Cena promo 101, WrestleMania, big matches, this is where I do my business, blah, blah, blah. That's all well and good. I think you bring The Miz out here, people are super high on this guy. Oh, I shouldn't say people. Most people are pretty high on what he's doing right now. So I feel like this works. And of course, The Miz is just an easy foil for basically anybody to work off of. And we get to see that in this match. As The Miz and John Cena battle it out for almost 20 minutes. Cena ends up winning this after basically getting his tail handed to him by Miz, since the attack sort of kept him down and out. And I think they told a good story throughout before, you get the inevitable Cena comes back, Super AA off, that's all she wrote for The Miz.
And, once again, I mean, it's really easy to sit here and say, oh, John Cena won again. And, and that's fine and dandy. But I think that they put on enough of a quality match to at least play favorite to the fact that The Miz had every opportunity to win this match, right? And sure, some of that was, just Miz being Miz, but it did not go, 5 minutes and Cena wins. It's nothing like that. They gave it plenty of time. John Cena had to fight hard to win this match. So it made me feel like The Miz came out of this thing looking good, looking like he really was something that, at least it mattered. And so I'm glad about that. And, John Cena is John Cena. So decent match. I think it was, for the most part, a quality way to start the show, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. And really quickly, I do want to mention this. I like how John Cena drops the dead man in his promo earlier that I didn't mention. It's kind of funny. He talks about how legends from the past, dead, I think it was dead men or something like that. It kind of made me think of Undertaker. So I wonder if he's dropping a little hintage there.
Maybe so. I think the thing I like most about this match is we're sort of continuing this story that Cena is having trouble keeping up still, right? And stuff like 3-on-1 attacks didn't used to phase him. Now he's basically mortal, right? These things are getting to him. He's having trouble, I think, just sort of staying toe-to-toe with a lot of these guys. And if it wasn't for magical moments of Super Cena at certain times, he wouldn't be getting these wins, which I think is, like I said last week, is a very interesting way to present Cena, especially in a part-time role now. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Agreed. And the one thing I'll say is it makes his matches a lot more interesting. Mm-hmm. It really does. And the second thing is this John Cena, this guy that we have not really seen until really recently, it means a lot, I think, to those fans out there who followed Cena, hate him, love him. It means a lot that the guy is vulnerable now. And mm-hmm. I think it's bringing people like myself around to saying, maybe this guy is not so bad. Maybe he really isn't so awful. And that's what's so great about this, because like you said, it's a great presentation. I mean, I'm on board with everything you said, man.
Yeah, I don't want to say I look forward to his promos, because like I said, they're basically the same unless we're getting, that John Cena that we get to see every once in a while again. But as far as his work goes in the ring, it's very interesting what they're doing with him right now, and I do appreciate that difference.
Yeah, it's just the character in general. It doesn't have to be about the promos, but you're right. Yeah, same old generic John.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to fast forward a little bit here because we have Kurt Angle come out a little bit later on in the show to make the big announcements, or two big announcements. One, Ronda Rousey will be at Elimination Chamber. She's going to be signing her WWE contract, and she is officially with the Raw brand. So before we go any further with this promo, I don't know if necessarily we should be shocked that a big star going to Raw. Just makes sense, but it certainly does give you pause for thinking about how much they're serious about Rousey being the one to take off Asuka's streak going forward. Because for now, they're both on the same brand.
Yep, exactly,
Yeah.
and that is a big issue for Asuka if that does come around. And I look at this and say, duh, in a way, because you've said this plenty of times, Paul. You say all the time, SmackDown's about more of the independent kind of guys or the NXT guys that people like, and guess what? Raw's going to get all the people that Vince likes, all the superstars, all the big names. And does that make sense? Kinda, because let's be honest, Raw is going to be the main focus on most of WWE's television. It's the flagship, for God's sake. So, but I like the fact that they do announce this. It gets you ready for what's going to take place here coming up for that big Elimination Chamber pay-per-view overall, because that's going to be a special moment. It really will be, and I'm assuming something else is going to take place during that signing. So it's really, I think, a smart move on their part to really promote this and to get it going. But yeah, I think it's definitely leading to what you just said. Asuka, your streak could be ending soon.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, right? It's a contract signing in the WWE. Something is going to happen here. I mean, it's just easy money.
Yeah.
After that announcement, Kurt Angle gives us an update on Jason Jordan, officially announces that he had the neck surgery and will miss WrestleMania. He plays up the dad card again. He's having trouble keeping his emotions. He's obviously hurt because, his son's hurt. It's hard to see your children go through pain like this, and sort of gets on the fans a little bit too. Like, we all know that Jordan may not be your guys' favorite person, but, he's a human being. He's my son. Let's just be nice people here. And it's not exactly a great delivery from Kurt Angle. But we still don't have an exact timetable as far as dirt sheets and all that go of when Jason Jordan will be back. But certainly this was, serious enough for him to miss a good chunk of time going forward.
Yeah, and, looking at this whole situation, I'm glad that they brought this up tonight. They almost had to in a way,
right.
But then again, they didn't. How many times, Paul, have we seen guys get a major injury, be gone, and they just shut their mouth? They don't say a word about it. They don't do anything. But I love now that it's transparent. Everybody on the dirt sheets, everybody out there, they all read all of it. They hear our podcast, other podcasts that talk about these things. They're in the know. They know exactly what's happening. Plus, WWE themselves reveal things all the time, whether Kathy Kelly's doing it or it's on just the website. So I appreciate them bringing this up. I appreciate the fact that, what Kurt said and all that stuff. So it only makes sense, and it's good placement here. It's good for Kurt to address this. It is his son. He should be emotional, and he should address the crowd.
Right. Yeah, and I like this overall, too, just because even though Kurt's delivery is not great here, I think he does a great job of selling his sort of sorrow for his son of missing out on this big moment that he could have had, and now it's gone. So
Yeah.
All this Jason Jordan talk brings out his former tag team partner and former Raw tag team champion partner, and Seth Rollins, who tells Kurt, "Look, man, I'm sorry about Jordan. I've been really hard on him, but he's a good kid. He's got a future." All this other stuff. He knows what it's like to miss Mania due to injury. And, this leads to talk of maybe finding Rollins a new tag team partner. And that's not what Seth Rollins wants to do anymore. He wants to essentially be the brand. He wants to be the guy. And to be the guy, you have to be wearing the Universal Championship. And I think you already see where this is going. He wants in that second chance Elimination Chamber match later on tonight. Rollins sort of has to state a case like, look, man, I have all this history with the title. I never really, I had injury troubles that took me away from it as well, all this other stuff. So, Kurt's like, you know what? I'll leave it up to the fans. The fans all want him in. Seth gets added to the match.
Man, you don't have to do very much to get in a match with Kurt Angle, do you? You just go out there and, hey, I'd like to do this. You know what? You got a point, sure. I wish it was that easy at my job. I wish I could just go up to my boss and say, I've been here quite a while, and it'd be nice to have just a big raise. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, you got a point. Okay, here you go.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I wish it was that easy. But it's just not in real life. But Kurt Angle makes the right decision here because, Seth Rollins really doesn't have a lot going at the moment. And It's a big match, but it gets even bigger with Seth Rollins. Let's be honest. So I think it did add something to that match. I'm, excited about, the opportunity that they put in front of us here, because all of us knew going into this, the people that were going to be involved. But now when you actually watch Raw live, you get something thrown at you that's something different. And so what you're expecting all week long changed, and that's good. And I think it made that main event just a little bit better.
It certainly does make it less predictable, right? You throw Seth in, Finn doesn't suddenly he doesn't look like a lock anymore, right? He's got some challenge here, in more ways than one now with Seth, and Kurt taking a page out of people power, old Johnny Ace's playbook. Let's leave it up to the people. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I really didn't think of that, Paul, but you're right. He's got a little bit of that people power. I guess it's the red, white, and blue, right?
It's got to be.
It's the red, white, and blue. I knew it. You wear those colors, you give everybody an opportunity to vote. But no, the one thing is I think they kind of had to do this in a way. Maybe not. Maybe this was a part of the plan all along. But, what we were hearing, that the leaked photo out there that already had Finn Balor's face on the poster. So they gave us an opportunity to really second guess that coming into Raw. And I like that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that might have had something to do with it too. Honestly, though, with Jordan out of the picture and all that story with him sort of out the window for now, you got to do something with Seth, right? This is one of your major guys on the brand. Sticking him right back in the main event picture works just fine.
Yep.
Fast forwarding through the evening a little bit here, we run into Seth and Roman hanging out backstage. Reigns kind of jokes a little bit about Rollins somehow always getting his way into the big matches, sort of like maybe a little WrestleMania moment that we may or may not be revisiting from 31 here with Rollins sort of interjecting himself with the Money in the Bank briefcase, all that fun stuff. Reigns says, "You know what? I'm gonna take care of you if you're in that match, just like I did at the Rumble." This brings the Bar in, who starts running Seth down. He's going to fail once again. He's a terrible tag team partner because, both Dean and Jason are now hurt, which is just a terrible stroke of bad luck, obviously, for him. But it makes for great heel fodder here.
Yeah, I love it.
And then we learn that Roman's going to face Sheamus later on in the evening.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually really entertaining. Mm-hmm. I really like this all the way around. It ties into not just one storyline, but others, right?
Yep.
And it gives us a broad picture of what the future could be about. It's not one of those you just kind of blow off segments where they just kind of chat back and forth. They actually give you some, I would say, a little bit of a little meat on the bone here. So that's good. I really appreciate that. They have a little of the comedy. Overall, it was really solid just because of those things. So I like this. I really don't have any qualms about it.
I don't either, right? This is sort of tying into some of the old Shield stuff. It's tying into old history. It's tying into new history, so that's all well and good. And let's go and talk about Reigns and Sheamus here. 15 minutes or so, Roman Reigns gets the victory here to the shock of basically no one. Sheamus jumps off the top and basically leaps into a spear. You have some Cesaro involvement here as well. And the fans maybe showing that they don't care so much about this matchup because, they start a Rusev Day chant. And, Gary, every day is Rusev Day.
Exactly. What's the big deal, folks? I mean, come on, we know this. It's Rusev Day. Every day, like Paul said, is Rusev Day. No, I mean, I think really these kind of matches I think at times, I don't want to say bore the fans, but I think it's like so predictable. You're just kind of waiting for it to happen. So that's what happens. The crowd gets, something else going so they can stay entertained. And I'm going to say this, as much as fun it is with the Rusev Day stuff, I think Reigns and Sheamus did a great job. I get it. We all knew Reigns was going to win. Not going to happen unless some other circumstances took place where you have Cesaro super involved, over the top involved. It's going to be Reigns. And looking at this whole thing, though, I think it worked out fine. I really don't have a lot of bad things to say about the match. In fact, I think Sheamus looked great in this matchup. I think Sheamus got something that he's needed for a long time, and that's the ability to look like he is one of those top guys once again. And I think he still really technically is, but he's just, in a different position now. He's a tag team guy. He's not trying to vie for that WWE Universal Championship. So I think here we go, and a great opportunity to showcase Sheamus. And Reigns, once again, I have to give him credit too, did a wonderful job in this matchup. I think they had some decent chemistry here to really put on a solid match overall. So I was happy with it. I was happy for Sheamus, and I think that they did give us something that we should at least care about. I don't think I sitting here at the house, I didn't sit there and chant Rusev Day. I actually enjoyed the match.
I thought the action here was very good, right? You have lots of counters. And I agree with you. I think there is some chemistry here just because, they both have that same mold, right? They're both big brawlers. They both have a huge amount of WWE backing behind them. I think it's pretty easy to probably put these guys together in a match. And if it wasn't for a back injury to Sheamus, he might be in a little bit of a bigger position right now. But I think all this work with Cesaro has been great. I think maybe this injury that he's got might keep him out of that main event picture for a long time, if not permanently, just because he can't go at that rate.
Yeah. You know what? And it's not such a bad thing. Sheamus has a big enough name here in the WWE. He can be a mid-carder that matters. He's not going to go away, and he's not going to be someone people are going to look down on unless you just hate Sheamus. And I don't hate Sheamus. I'm not just a giant fan like, some others are. And I know you really do like Sheamus.
I
Paul,
do.
And that's, hey, I give you all the credit in the world. I have my favorites too. And so I just think, what he's doing now is solid. I think what he's doing now has a future. I don't think it's going to be something where he stops. I mean, one day maybe he could be the Intercontinental Champion again or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever holds a single title again unless this back injury is something fixable that he can just sort of either, work through and let the body fix it, or if he's going to have to get surgery at some point or whatever. But, at this point in time, it's kind of hard to see him achieving that level of singles success again. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. You never know.
Right. Let's dive into this main event. It's a fatal five-way now. Finn Balor, Matt Hardy, Bray Wyatt, Apollo Crews, Seth Rollins. The winner, of course, fills in that last spot in the Elimination Chamber. Lots of back and forth, lots of chaos, as you would sort of expect from this thing, especially with both Finn and Apollo and Seth, even to a degree, being so flippy. And Matt and Bray sort of ground this, as well as they have their own little beef flying around. And eventually this ends up with a big finisher fest. You have Wyatt try to follow Crews back into the ring. We have this big Tower of Doom spot that ends up with both Seth and Finn pinning Bray Wyatt. And they don't really come to a conclusion on who the winner is before the telecast goes off. So we still don't know who's filling the spot, but it looks like we might have Finn and Seth battling it out again next week, if I had to take a guess. But interesting way to give you a reason to watch next week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And you know what? I love how it just goes off the air. I love how the fact that they did not even say, "Oh, we'll catch you next week, guys," or something like, "Oh God, what's going to happen?" They just kind of cut off, and I appreciate that. And it leaves you guessing. It leaves you with those thoughts of, is it going to be next week they're going to have this giant match, or are they going to build like the week before the Chamber? I don't know. But here's the thing. I think you got a main event that was exciting. You had different storylines involved, like you mentioned, Wyatt and Hardy. All that stuff was fun. And Apollo Crews having, even Titus out there with him, really rooting him on, things like that. So everybody brought their game. Everybody brought their story. It overall was a pretty entertaining match. I got to give them credit for that, because they really did all put in the effort. It didn't look like anybody was out there just kind of, running the ropes and just kind of getting their paces. I think actually, everyone in that match really looked like they were giving their all. So I was really happy with it. I like the ending. I like the fact that we're going to have more, for the fact that, we talked about this just a bit earlier about, this kind of helps cover that mishap that they had earlier in the week with the whole poster thing with Finn being supposedly already imposed in the Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives us more in this story, and I'm really happy with it. And I even like some of the build up. They did the promos with Hardy and Wyatt here too. It's kind of building to this, so you actually kind of felt like, oh, those two guys. What's going to happen with all that?
Exactly. I dig all that a lot, actually. I think they don't do this often enough, I feel like. They do sort of set stuff up for the next week, but they don't ever really leave you hanging like they used to do in the Attitude Era, right? Where the end of a show is either a nice feel-good moment or is this big cliffhanger for a story that's going to take you right into the next week. And I feel like this sort of touches back on all that they used to do, which is great. Like you mentioned, they just go off the air. Even the commentary is still confused on who won and what's going to happen. And you hit black, and suddenly you're on to the next show on USA.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I was just basically going to bring this point real quick, too. I give him credit for the fact that involving so many different guys in this and not just, really kind of separating everyone out to where the guys that don't matter kind of were knocked out of the match early, and all the guys that they felt mattered were primarily at the end. That's not what they did here. I want to give him credit for that too, because Apollo actually was involved in the majority of this match, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people thought that would be the guy that would not have any opportunity to win this match. But I appreciate that gave that guy a lot more time too. So I just want to throw that out there really quick. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to make these guys matter, especially in the big spotlight. You got to make them feel like they belong. I think they did that with Apollo. Everybody got promos throughout the evening too, which were all pretty good. So
exactly,
enjoyed that too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's flip the script here. Let's look at the women. And before we dive into the current stuff, it's probably worth mentioning that WWE.com broke today, and they hit it again on Raw, that Ivory is going into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. She now joins Goldberg and the Dudley Boys in that class. I like this move. Ivory, I think, brought a sort of legitimacy to the early women's division back when they reintroduced it in '98 with Sable and everything. So an easy foil, and one that they made infinitely hateable when she joined Right to Censor and all that. And obviously she had a good long career before coming to the WWE too. She was part of the original Glow. She worked in a lot of different places after that went too, before ending up in WWE. So I think she absolutely earned this for sure, even though I've read a lot of stuff online saying that why is she going in?
I'll be honest with you. I was always a fan.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is just based on the Attitude Era. This isn't based on any of her other work, Glow, or any other place besides WWE. But I really, really respected her and everything that she brought to the table. I said this a couple of weeks ago or so. If you ask me, during that time period, Jacqueline was probably the scariest one. But I think after that, Ivory.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, they're one of the toughest people when it came to the women's division, and I thought a lot of her work. I think a lot of it, and so that means to me this is well deserved. Sure, people may argue. I don't care. In my eyes, this is the right place. This is the right time, and I'm just so happy. This Hall of Fame is ending up being better than I could ever imagine.
Yeah, so far it's a very quality class, right? Goldberg, huge star from the '90s. Obviously made his mark again for the WWE and in this century, as well as the earlier run in the mid 2000s. I guess is probably the correct time for 2004, 2005. The Dudley Boys, obviously one of the most decorated tag teams since the Territory days. Great wrestlers in their own right too. Made a lot of history. And Ivory, like I said, early trailblazer for the WWE Women's Division when they brought it back. And I absolutely agree. One of the toughest broads, for sure, in the early days of that division. And just a great heel, I think, for her entire run as well.
Yeah, just think about this. WCW, ECW, and Glow all going into the Hall of Fame. People from those, those promotions, and, of course, part of WB, too. But I love the fact that they are bringing in people that, had some celebrity before they even walked in the door of WB. That's really cool.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So first up for the women on this episode of Raw, you have Bayley going one-on-one with Sasha Banks as sort of a loser's grudge match since Asuka has beaten them both recently. And you get some of that magic you expect from these two, right? It's nowhere in the 4-star territory, but I don't think 3.5 probably too far from the mark here as these girls go at it 12 minutes, pretty fast and furious. Bayley ends up hitting Bayley to belly off the ropes to get the victory. And there's just a lot of fire in this match. I think it kept the crowd interested. It automatically gave you shivers of, man, these girls, they could do so much more together.
You know it. And the one thing that I'll say is they really put on something here that really just touched on what they can do. And I think that, Paul, you just said it, but I think, from everything that we've been talking about on this show and, of course, on Wrestling to the Max or normal episodes, we've given them so much praise for their NXT matches that they've had. We've given them praise for what they can do already. We kind of see little snippets of that, but now it's so exciting to think that we're going to get a big matchup with them down the line here. It's going to be so much fun. And, once again, I think both of them have really kind of struggled. They've both really kind of had some hard knocks here when it comes to just the main roster in general. They have not been the highlights like they were supposed to be coming out of NXT, but I still have hope. And seeing a matchup like this still gives me that hope. I don't know about you, Paul, but I feel like you're right. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
I mean, the talent's all there, right? We've seen them not do terrific by Bayley since her main roster call-up, but Sasha has obviously had her couple moments in the sun. She's shown us that her and Charlotte obviously still had all that magic coming up together through Raw. Basically re-putting the division on the map, I think, for a lot of people who maybe hadn't watched NXT before. This was the other big side of the equation out of the four horsewomen. Becky obviously had her moments too, but it was, after Sasha and Charlotte and all that saga was over, it was about these two. And I would dare say it's probably the best pairing out of the four horsewomen you could put together.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you, and I just want to see more. I'll be honest with you. I think there's a lot more to come, and I think it's going to be even better. Stories are going to get really intense pretty soon. Yeah,
I agree with you entirely. So, jumping into the post-match stuff here, Bayley goes to offer a handshake as we have the big stare-down between the two, which sort of sets the crowd's mouth the water in here after this match, and maybe if there's some NXT fans out there, they obviously know what all this might be leading to. However, Nia Jax comes in and just runs the party over, attacks both of them, lays them out, says, this moment right here, this has everything to do with me because, you both lost to Asuka, you took her to her limit, I took you out in seconds. Just think what I'm going to do to Asuka when I get her in the ring again. I thought this was good.
I agree. Yeah. And her words made complete sense, didn't they, Paul?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, she took him out in short fashion, and now here we sit here thinking to ourselves, who could be a quality opponent for Asuka? Well, just her. And she made it clear, and I appreciate that. And hey, they didn't miss a beat from, anything else that she's done lately. They've really tried their best to get her on pace, to make her mean something again. And I think that they did a good job here. It's I don't want to say just a smart booking, but I just think it did a little bit of favor to her. Because I think if they would have skipped this, to be honest with you, Paul, I kind of feel like they would have just had her saying words. They put it into action, then they gave the words.
Yeah, this is the Nia Jax I think I could get behind, right? Tough, super dominant, and sort of short and sweet promos, right? Just getting right to the point. I think that works terrifically into her wheelhouse as far as this side of the character, right? We've seen some other sides that maybe aren't reflective of what you want to see from her, but this for sure works. I'd be down for more of this.
I couldn't agree more with you.
Later on in the evening, we get a video package for Asuka going over some numbers, how long she hasn't, how long her undefeated streak has gone. I think they get into matches and her Rumble counts and all this other stuff too. It's pretty cool. I like this. And then we jump into this Alexa Mickie James segment backstage where Mickie is sort of re-questioning Alexa's motivations, right? We aren't friends. That's all in the past. And we've seen Alexa try to mend this fence to try to win some friends over before going into the Elimination Chamber. And Alexa's like, look, you were just jealous of me, and I forgive you for that. She tries to kiss up to her and all this other stuff. they're tagging up against Absolution tonight. And Mickey's like, you know what? We can tag up tonight. That's fine. I have no problem with it. But when it comes to the Chamber and the championship, I'm winning that. That's all Mickie James. So, getting into the match, it's short and sweet. You have Absolution go over here in about 4 minutes or so, where they basically just out-team Alexa and Mickie as they should. And in the post-match, Absolution goes to attack Mickie, but here comes Alexa Bliss to make the save and sort of keep you back on your feet, right? What exactly is going on here? Is Mickie going to turn again? You know, what exactly is going on here? And I kind of like this. You know, Alexa trying to win over as many people as possible is just, I think it's a great story for her.
No, I'm right there with you. And I look at this and think to myself, wow, I mean, they actually did something really intelligent here that I really never would have put it into place. But now I'm totally down with what they're doing and how they're going with this whole process with Alexa trying to become friends with someone she was really hateful to, really rude to. And I think it makes sense. I'm glad they put this match up here. It showcases not only Absolution, who needs some TV time, they really do, you know, and they've done a few things here and there, but really, you know, it's been kind of, I'm not going to say a struggle, but it's been a little bit different of, I guess, a presence, I would say, on Raw for Absolution with Paige not being able to get in the ring. It's just been a little bit different. They put them on, but it's not been just really long periods of time. But so I appreciate this match and the fact that they made it matter. And, you know, I think everybody involved got a little something out of this match. I really, really do. And Absolution winning and getting things done here and kind of leading us to see, you know, hey, get it, Mickie James? They are going to beat everybody if you allow them to. So I like that. I like that this is going to put Alexa and Mickie James probably a little bit closer to understanding each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it keeps you guessing, and that's what I think I like about this the most.
Mm-hmm.
So no cruiserweights once again on this show, which I think is still interesting to note, right? They really want you to tune in 205 Live, and you should, honestly, if you haven't been. The last 2 weeks have been terrific since the start of the tournament. Obviously, we talked last week on W2M about Triple H taking over the show. And you could see just the market difference in how it's presented and everything. It's really, really working. I hope it gains steam, too. So, yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about that anymore or not. But
no, you're exactly right, though. And it's very interesting that they're not still putting them on Raw on a week-to-week basis, right? But I love that point you just made. They want you to watch 205 Live.
Yeah.
So we're not getting overexposure by having them on every single Raw. People, if they want to see them, guess what? You're going to get a chance to see them here, there, and maybe a little here and over here, but not every single place that Raw does something. And that's going to give people just a taste, so they'll tune into that 205 Live. And you're right. Triple H taking over at this early stage is looking really, really good, and I hope it continues. And I think people, if you're missing out on 205 Live because you thought it sucked, a few, weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, however long ago you may have tuned in and you didn't want to watch it, try it again. Go back and watch those 2 episodes that Paul just mentioned. You're going to want to be involved because I think there's a lot of great components. You've got a great general manager. You've got some great matches. And so it's a win-win, I think, right now for 205. And the way they're doing it with Raw and not having one every week, it means much more.
Yeah, I think they're maybe a little bit noted by their absence, right? Because you can see, I think even the presentation has changed over here on Raw for these guys, right? You're not getting them week to week. You're getting them sparingly, and they're throwing in adverts, obviously, still. Go watch 205 Live on the network. Go do this. Go do that, right? So I appreciate all of that.
Yeah, and the matches that they do put in, like you said, when they put them on Raw, they're going to actually matter. They're not just going to be 6-man tags. 6-man tag. Oh, here next week, guess what? Tag team. Oh, then the next week, 6-man tag. It just gets overdone. The way they're doing it now, oh boy, I think it's leading up to good things. So I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, those 3 to 6 minutes of those guys taking up time is being dilled out to other things, and I think that's helping out a lot of the roster over here too. So, we have the Good Brothers. It's obviously Anderson and Gallows. They do a promo on the Revival. They call them nerds. Usual stuff there, which is fine. As they make their way to the ring, the Revival attack them from behind. 8 minutes or so in the ring into the match. The Revival get the win here with the Shatter Machine on Carl. It's Revival are getting good wins here. As much as I kind of wish it was the Good Brothers going over, the Revival certainly need the work. They've been out for so long. They need to feel like a threat. And it doesn't seem like the Balor Club thing's really going to get a whole lot of movement right now either. So I think it's better to push these guys, get them up there to where they can challenge the bar. We'll be we'll be having some good times.
I see where you're coming from, and this is one of those moments where I think to myself, 50-50 booking for these guys.
Yeah.
It may not be so bad, because I like both tag teams, but I really appreciate your point, because I think the Balor Club has some things coming down the line. Right now is not that time, and it's more about Finn Balor, and that's okay. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you got to put the brakes on something and allow some other things to take place. That way, when you push on the accelerator on a tag team or a faction, and that's the right time, then you can go fast, you can go hot, and you can get people to really, really care about what you're doing. At this moment, it would be just too much if you were really doing that 50-50 booking. Revival wins, Balor Club wins, going back, and it just makes sense. Let's get the Revival going. These guys have not been on TV a whole lot. They just recently got back. Let's get them going. Let's make them look like the $1 million that they need to look. And then later on, we'll retouch on this. But right now, the Revival need this the most. Balor Club is going to be fine. People still love them no matter what.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also very important to think, too, that it's very important to reestablish Finn as a top factor, as a top guy, get those people behind him. So when the Balor Club does finally come together on a more permanent basis, some of that good feeling is going to carry over to these guys. Because, I mean, they have a bit of a following, right? The Nerds deal, I think, is over, and all of that. But it's not like they're a big deal, right? I think you get Finn over, you get the Balor Club going, that's when these guys will become the big deal. That's when you're going to want to start pushing them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the only thing we really have left to talk about is this great segment here with Elias, who comes out singing about the Elimination Chamber blues, Gary. He's got him. California's got him because there's not a good city to be had here. He puts over the fact that he obviously beat Cena and Strowman last week. He's just basically arrived. He is the man. Oh, when you start talking bad about Braun, you know where this is going. Here comes Braun, except he's got a microphone and this giant stand-up bass. And breaks the strings while he's strumming, singing a song about Elias, telling him that he is about to get these hands. And, well, Gary, he does. Elias gets power slammed. He gets the big bass broken over him. I mean, Braun's killing people, Gary. That's never a bad time for me.
I got to admit, his singing voice isn't god awful. I mean,
it definitely could be worse.
It could be worse. I'll be honest with you. I think I've heard some country singers to sing a lot worse than that. So, I really appreciated this. The fact that we're getting not just I kill, I'm big man, me, not like.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're getting Braun Strowman a little bit more varied here, and his character is kind of built a little bit here because now he can joke around a little bit, and at the same time, after he's finished making you laugh, he's going to kill somebody.
Right.
And I'm down with it. I think it was very funny. It made me very reminiscent of Stone Cold Steve Austin, what he used to do, right? Sure, he was a mean SOB, but every once in a while he would do something a little bit goofy and then go back and stun you 100 times. So that's fine. I think Braun Strowman doing this is not dumb. I think it actually kind of adds to him, and I appreciate it. We know that this guy is a killer, and they just get a chance to give that crowd what they want, to see someone get killed.
Exactly. It keeps, it's another story that you can tell in the chamber too, which is nice. So, lots of good things happening on this episode of Raw, Gary. And with that, that's everything. We just got to rate it. What you gonna give it?
Man, this was one that I really was prepared to say ho-hum, but then they started really throwing things at me, and for the most part, I really enjoyed a lot of these matches. I think they gave us some things that were really important when it came to building some of the feuds. I I just got to give them credit for, really keeping things on a positive note for me, because I didn't really want to come in here and complain. I really didn't have a lot to complain about. So I'm going to go with 7.5 for this one. I really did think it was just a tad bit above my expectations. That's why I'm giving it a little extra love.
I think the thing that really helps this episode get along is you got 4 really good matches on your hands here. Bayley and Sasha. I enjoyed Cena and Miz, Roman and Sheamus beating the tar out of each other, and then that main event's fun. It's just a real good time. There's a lot of good story progression going on here too. This is one of the more focused 3-hour episodes of Raw I think we've seen in a little while, so I definitely appreciate that too. I don't know if I like 7.5 though. I think we could go 7. Like this is a very, very good episode of Raw. Absolutely worth your time. So go check it out.
Yeah, for sure. And make sure you also don't forget to go check out all of our great reviews that we have, guys, because we just covered this episode of Raw, but we are going to have an awesome opportunity this week to cover some other big review shows for you. We're going to be doing SmackDown Live. We'll be doing 205 Live. Well, not me and Paul, but guess who? Harry Broadhurst and Brando Biscobing, and of course, Liz, whoever variation, whatever they're doing. I'm not exactly sure. I know Liz has had a lot of things going on, but whatever you get, it's going to be quality, because all 3 of them have great opinions. They're doing such a wonderful job with those shows. We love them so much for doing those shows. And so go check them out. Paul and I will be back Friday morning for NXT. You'll miss that. And, of course, our regular episodes of Wrestling to the Max will be coming at you this week. Episode 286 will be at you this week, part 1 and part 2. So don't miss those as well. Also, once again, W2Mnet.com. We have everything you can have to offer when it comes to the world of wrestling, and a lot more other subjects. So please go check out W2Mnet.com. Also, don't forget to go give us a little bit of a rating and reviewing for us over there at the W2M Network. We appreciate all of you that have done that. Also, Wrestling the Max. Go just rate and review on both of those. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Whichever one you choose, you'll get some great quality content, and we, of course, want to provide that to you weekly. So that's just going to help us to make sure that we know what you guys like, make sure we get some feedback, and also make it easier on you to find us. And once again, we love ForOneMania.com and LastRoundProWrestling.com. They are great supporters of ours, and we want to make sure we support them. So please go check out those great sites, great articles when it comes to wrestling. Trust me, guys, you want to go check out those stuff. So, well, I am Gary Vaughan, and he is Paul Leazar, and we will catch you guys down the road.
Have a good one, guys.
The previous podcast is a W2Mnet.com original podcast. For more great content like this, go to W2Mnet.com for the worlds of wrestling, video games, entertainment, and sports.